Football and 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. Don't forget their YouTube channel. Just search Inside the Birds and be a Patreon subscriber to all of their off-season content. We got a lot to dive into as we are 30 days to the NFL draft. And, of course, you can listen to the draft right here on 97.3 ESPN. Adam Caplan is here as he joins us on Tuesdays from the Inside the Birds podcast. Adam, 30 days to the draft, my friend.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm well, Mike. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, that's right. We're 4 weeks away, so that's we're coming down to crunch time. And, you know, it's funny. We just started, speaking of the draft, we just started our draft series with Greg Cosell from NFL Films, and we dropped the Edge Rusher show today, which is always popular, and the Eagles certainly for the future. The draft is always about the future. Past the season, the Eagles will only have 3 guys in the rotation who are under contract, so clearly a need for the future, not so much this season, but that's something that we talked to Greg about today is the Edge Rush group, and we've got a lot more shows coming up with Greg as we get closer to the draft. But Mike, look, since we talked last, the Eagles have made some moves, there's no question, and there was one move we said we gave the 2 players that they would look at. One of them they got. They were looking for a swing offensive tackle, and then that's what they got.
Yeah, they did. They signed last night. That's Kendall Lamb, a 10-year veteran, and I would imagine you probably have more intel on this than I have, but I would think he's the replacement for Fred Johnson. Yeah,
he is. He does not play guard. I'm told, though he plays right tackle, left tackle, at this point in his career, he's probably better off at right than left. He's the kind of guy, Mike, you mentioned Fred Johnson. He's very similar. If your tackle is out for 4 weeks, 4 games, you should be okay. He could hold it down. But the longer he's in there, you talk about 6, 8, 10 games, it becomes a problem. And those are the type of players like the other. We mentioned 2 players, Kendall Lamb and George Fant. Now, George Fant's a better football player. He's had a number of injuries. He was actually released by the Seahawks this offseason. So he was starting for the Jets and the Seahawks. He was actually a college basketball player who would play tackle in the NFL. This is a great find for the Seahawks. But so Fant's still out there. Kendall Lamb, the Eagles signed. So if you really look at it, Mike, that was, quite frankly, other than maybe a depth signing in free agency. That's pretty much it, Mike. Now, could they use another center/guard? Probably. Center, to me, Mike, when you look at the Eagles' situation on their offensive line, that's all. Look, Landon Dickerson can do it. We know that he did in college. He can do it if Juergens can't play, and we know that Cam's come off surgery for his back. They don't have a lot of choices, so that to me is something to look at. But really, Mike, when we go forward here, the rest of the needs headed to the draft, they're all on defense.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the right guard spot, they think they have an in-house option. Everybody else is back, I mean, for the most part. Probably some depth, as you mentioned, on the offense. Maybe a wide receiver, they need some depth.
Yeah, I would say, let's look at it really quickly before we get to defense. You got A.J. Brown, Smith, and Dotson are your top 3. Johnny Wilson only does his block. That's really the only way they really use him. Anai Smith, they want him to be, a backup slot receiver, punt returner. He's there. Danny Gray could run. He's more of an outside receiver. Look, they could just make the choice of and Elijah Cooks. Jeff and I had some intel on him when he was brought back. He was brought over from the Jaguars off the practice squad after the Jaguars let him go. He's got really good size. I was San Jose State. He was an undrafted free agent a couple years ago with the Jaguars. But look, could they use a veteran? Fine. It's honestly, it's not a big deal. The Eagles were heavy 12 personnel last season. There were 2 receivers, 2 tight ends, 1 back. We know they have a new play caller, but we don't think that's going to change much because they're a running team. Again, Mike, it's, to me, for this team to make another run, and they certainly could, Mike. I know they've lost a number of players in free agency. They still, the core of this football team is still really, really good. It's just they have some challenges on defense.
We'll get to those now on the defensive side of the ball as we are 30 days to the NFL draft. Kind of will set where their their depths, and kind of looked at their pre-draft needs. We looked at wide receiver. They could use some depth there. I think you're right there. Interior line, they got Steen, they got Kenyon Green that they brought in. They probably will add some stuff there. But on defense, this is where when we get to training camp, holy mackerel, if it started today, you've got battles all over the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, they have a lot of work to do. Let's get started on the defensive line. So with Milton Williams moving on, there's obviously a big hole there. Now, Jordan Davis, he right now he's on the final year of his rookie deal. He's in year 4. Man, time has really flown. It is amazing. He's still a part-time player. That's not why they drafted him. He did end the season well, Mike, but he needs to have a big offseason. And his 5th-year option is due May 2nd. We'd be stunned if they picked it up. It's just too much money. But, look, they're going to add to that position. The backups now are Byron Young, who didn't play for them after he was claimed off waivers. He didn't really contribute. I think he was active for 1 game, but he never really contributed. Thomas Booker, in a very limited time, looked really good. So right now, and Gabe Hall's there, who didn't play last season. He was an undrafted free agent. So right now it's going to be Ojomo and Carter are your starters. If they go with a 5-man front, Davis is in there. But that's it. I mean, Thomas Booker would be the first guy off the bench. They're short one guy. You got to go to training camp with at least 7 D tackles. Now, they don't need to address it in the draft. They could address it in free agency. They could wait. Look, if they don't get what they want in the draft, they could just wait and get a veteran free agent and bring that guy to camp. But they certainly have to add at least 1 defensive tackle by training camp.
Yeah, well, and the defensive tackle spot, I guess, and you can comment on this a little deeper, is do they look at Moro Ojomo as the guy who just kind of migrates to that next role, like his role just becomes bigger, or do they think they need to find someone to kind of replace Milton Williams?
Yeah, that's a good question. So right now, Ojomo would be a starter. He actually played more snaps than Jordan Davis last season, which is stunning. He's a good player. Look, there was a knock on him from a maturity issue coming out of Texas. He was a 7th-round pick 2 years ago. He's done a really good job. The Eagles are really happy with him. They're going to increase his role, but the question to me is, Mike, is he a 70% playtime guy? Is he 40%? That's kind of what you're asking. It's a good question, and they're going to have to figure that out, and they'll have an idea. I mean, obviously, they'll go in the draft with an idea of what they want to do. It's always who's on the board, because I could tell you, Jeff and I have talked about it on our show over the years. We've been privy to some of their draft plans, and I remember there's one year they wanted to draft a safety. The guy was taken before him. They wanted Zion McCollum, Tristan McCollum's brother, with the Buccaneers. They didn't have a 5th-round pick. They were going to draft him. They were out of 5th-round picks one year. So it just depends on what their board looks like, and they'll go from there. But D tackle is definitely a need going forward.
Yeah, that's a big spot there. Okay, edge is interesting. This one, to me, I like this conversation a lot. We can almost do the whole segment on edge. They've got Jalix Hunt, 3rd round last year. They signed Bryce Huff to a huge deal. Then they take a shot on Josh Uche, and then Ojulari. I thought that was a sneaky pickup last week as well. So give us a thought on the edge rushers as we look at the pre-draft needs at that position.
Yeah, so look, with Bryce Huff, Mike, if they're unable to move him, which is very likely, not impossible, but very likely, because, Mike,
Very likely that they're unable to move him.
Yes. Okay. Mike, here's why, okay? He was a major disappointment, right? I think we kind of all know that. He had no role to end the season when he got healthy. He's owed a lot of money. He's owed $16.75 million. All the cash is fully guaranteed. To last year, the guarantees, by the way. So the Eagles would, if they're going to trade him, they would have to eat a significant amount of money. And I'm sure the Eagles would take anything they can get for him, even if it was like a 6th-round pick. I'm sure they would take it. But because Mike, he not only did he not have a role, it was very clear to us before he had his wrist surgery that Jalix Hunt was going to play over him. Like, that was going to happen. And Jalix Hunt really ended the season well, Mike. So his situation's fluid. Well, I don't think I'd be stunned if they cut him. That's just too much money to eat. They would get a rebate. They have an offset on his contract. They would get a rebate, but that rebate, as I understand it, would not come until next year. So this is just something. Look, they've missed on this player. I understood why they did it. He played great in a wide 9. The Eagles don't really run a lot of the wide 9, and it hasn't worked for him. But let's look at the edge rush group overall. Nolan Smith will absolutely be a starter right now. Now, opposite him, you've got Hunt, you've got Huff, you got Ojulari, and you've got Uche. So the thing is, just for this season, they have enough players. It's not a problem. After the season, Uche's contract's up, Ojulari's contract's up, and Huff, if he's still with the team this year and not moved, the guaranteed money is out of his contract after the season. There's no way to see he'd be here next year. So in 26 and beyond, they're short. They're going to need people. The draft is always about the future, not about this season. Whatever you get out of the season is a plus. There's no question you like to get. Obviously, you're drafting a guy who's got to play this year, so you want to get something out of him. But it's always about the future. So edge rush, Mike, as we move this along, is a clear need. Yes. There's no debate over that for the future. Not so much this season. They have a kid, O'Shawn Mathis, who, by the way, I remember talking to the Rams about him. He's got great size. He was a 6th-round pick in 2023 out of Nebraska. He was on and off the team. He got hurt. Then he went to the Patriots. He's on and off their practice squad. Then the Eagles brought him in. So he's got some talent. So again, look, if the Eagles don't do anything this season, it's not a big deal. You don't want to force it because, quite frankly, Ojulari is almost certain to be on this team. I like this. This is my favorite free agent signing of the Eagles this year. I mentioned it. I love the signing.
I was just going to say, I feel like Ojulari is going to have a big impact this year. Like that.
If he can stay healthy. If he can stay healthy.
Absolutely.
Early. 3 years on IR, that can't happen. But, we did the show last week on free agency with Greg Cosell's phenomenal. Greg broke down Ojulari's tape. He's got great length. He's not tall. He's just over 6'2", but he's got 34 3/8-inch arms, which are left tackle arms. So, yeah, I just think this is a really smart signing. We have not gotten I know it's been reported $4 million, but we don't know if that's correct. So we're waiting for the breakdown on that one. But even if it's $4 million, that's not a lot. That's backup money, but he'll be in the rotation. There's a lot of upside with this group, Mike. And Jalen Son is the wild card. This kid has got so much ability, and he leaves you wanting more, which is a good thing.
Now, you mentioned Ojulari injury. Inside linebacker, you got Nakobe Dean coming off of injury. Nakobe Dean, if he returns, you would have say, okay, he's back. But if he's not there, now you need some depth here. You got Zach Ball, and, of course, you'll also earn Burks. Yeah,
so Dean, we're not expecting him to be ready for the regular season. The question is when. They don't know yet. He's got to get through his rehab for a patellar tendon. That's worse than an ACL, by the way. So here's what we do know. Zach Bond is starting, right? You've got Trotter Jr., who they're very high on, but he's a smaller player. Van Sumer's coming off major knee surgery. And Dallas Gann, who's undrafted free agent out of Toledo. He's a guy that has really good length. He was with the Vikings and Eagles last season. He's a developmental player. He's unlikely to be on the roster. So they can't line up right now. They need to add, Mike, players. So they'll add at least one more guy at inside backer, and they know that. This is not a secret.
All right, let's finish off with the defensive back room. You got what's going to happen at corner, and then, of course, you got to replace C.J. Gardner-Johnson at safety. So you would think your pre-draft roster needs certainly include these two spots.
Yeah, as we told our Patreon people 3-4 weeks ago that our early intel was they plan, and plans could always change. The Cooper DeJean will be playing nickel this season. Again, they could change their mind. They did draft him to play outside corner, but Vic Fangio, because DeJean got a late start, wanted to start him out and not put him on an island, and he became arguably the NFL's best nickel defender. He's phenomenal. What a super freak athlete. Just a great football player. So right now, it's opposite Mitchell at left corner. You've got Ringo and Adoree Jackson, who the Eagles have always liked. We've talked about this guy probably 6 or 7 years connected to the Eagles. So look, they're not done. They'll add another one, but it doesn't have to be in the draft. It could be in free agency. They're too light there. Parry Nickerson's a nickel. Eli Ricks, it's crazy. 2 years ago, he had a pretty significant role. Last year, he basically didn't play on defense. He was the fifth corner. So they got Castro Fields out of Penn State, who was drafted by the Niners. So they'll add to that position. But right now, it's Ringo versus Jackson. And look, here's the thing: Mike, we'll talk more about this closer to the draft and after the draft and during it. But if they don't draft a corner in the first 3 rounds, Mike, you're probably going to see just Ringo versus Jackson in training camp.
Adam Caplan, there you go. A little pre-draft roster look at this team. 30 days to the NFL draft. Looking forward to that. In April, we'll have our draft party. We'll give you details on that. And Adam Caplan will be back on Friday for more Football at 4 from the Inside the Birds podcast. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
All right, there's Adam Caplan, as always, here for Football at 4 on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN.